this episode is called The New American Dream, a Passport. And it has so much rich information about you. Yep, you. And what's going to prompt you to leave the country. If you're interested, which a lot of people are, they're leaving. They're going. Bye-bye. But why are you going? What are some of the things that you need to be looking for when you leave? Like where to go to do your research? What are some of the considerations you need to think about when you relocate to another country, another place? So I hope you enjoy this episode. The two gentlemen we have here, they relocated from the US. They were in LA, they moved to Rwanda, and then from Rwanda, now they're in Zanzibar. But they walk you through step by step what the process is, what you should be considering, why you're moving, where to live, how to find other people, education, religion, how all that plays out. This is a fantastic episode. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So drop in your comments if you are living abroad, where are you living? If you think about, a place that you're considering, where would you move if you had to consider, like where would you want to raise a family? What would prompt you to leave the US? Like, let us know in the comments, because this one is one that's very dear to my heart. And these guys are awesome. Father and son, they uprooted half of their family, and they talk about all the great things that we still as Americans can sometimes take for granted: community, family, culture, love, happiness, and joy, which I'm hoping that, we still have time to experience in our lifetime. So good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Good to see you officially.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one. I have tons of questions. I kind of want to know your story, how you came to be in your new location halfway around the world. But let's just start with who you are first and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and just a little bit about your history, your story of being in the U.S. first.
Sure. Okay. So I'm Mark Bradley, and I am retired. I'm married, and my wife and I have 4 sons, 2 of which are with us here on the continent of Africa. When I said I'm retired, I'm actually retired from the federal government, where I worked for about 21 so years. Before that, I worked for IBM as a systems engineer. In the government, my job was facilitation, team building, executive coaching, those kinds of things. So even though I said I'm retired, I'm actually still helping with performance. That's because I did a job that I love to do. I don't really retire because I'm still doing what I like to do.
That's how I feel. I feel the same. I said, people are like, what's your retirement age? I was like, I don't really have a retirement age. I think I would just focus more on my passions, and maybe not work because I have to, but because I want to. So that's kind of how I look at retirement. So that's good to hear that you still have a very active lifestyle after retirement.
Yes.
And I'm Josiah. I'm his oldest son, oldest of the 4 sons. And so we're here with my brother Daniel and my mom. And so I've worked in film and electronic media for several years. I enjoyed storytelling overall. Dad and I also co-authored a book, a family book centered on business and music. When we moved to Los Angeles in about 2019, I had the opportunity to work on some Hollywood sets. Got to work on like Blackish, Insecure, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Fox Soul TV, and some others. So that was a major blessing. I had gone to Towson University prior to that, worked on like House of Cards, and it just tried to get better as an introverted networker and to be writing, to be meeting people, just putting myself out there. And so from the DMV, where you're based, where the show is based, to then Los Angeles on those sets, to then the family decided to, which we'll get into, move abroad to the East Africa region. And now we're the family's together on the island of Zanzibar right now. And it's fun to use my storytelling skills with Dad, because like I said, we've like written a book together, we've done a web series, and then also share them with my brother Daniel and mom, and we just make the YouTube channel work basically, and just sharing our story and our experience for those who want to start learning how to move abroad. So it's nice to be able to use podcasting and storytelling skills like that. And now we're here with you.
So you're currently working in your industries in Zanzibar.
In a matter of speaking, because they prioritize, understandably, their own citizens in their respective industries. But there are things like work visas, are things that you want to be abreast of. But right now, we have a family startup, and so I'm just using my skills there. So in between working on the startup, in between freelance storytelling, freelance video editing, and things. So we're entrepreneurs, digital
Okay.
nomads moving
Okay,
around.
digital nomads moving around. So, how did you end up in Zanzibar? Was that your first stop, or did you go somewhere else before ending up in Zanzibar? And how did you come to? Because most people don't even know of Zanzibar. I've heard it from how beautiful it is from a couple of friends, and they definitely said they would consider moving there. But was that your first stop? Had you visited? Like, how did you end up making Zanzibar your new home?
No, we hadn't visited. We actually did go to Kigali, Rwanda first. So we left LA and went to Kigali, Rwanda, lived there just shy of a year. I had not, none of us had been to Zanzibar. I went to Zanzibar down on the wharf near Holgates and partied when I was
Ah,
younger. I mean, I might as well insert that in there, right?
okay.
That was the only Zanzibar I knew. So, yeah, I guess if you want, we could tell you the story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's what I definitely want to know. Like, how did you come to make the move? What prompted you to leave the US?
okay, so we were living in Maryland. That's where our family just came to fruition, where the guys grew up. And I had within me a desire to move to Southern California. So I'm giving you the long play version.
Oh yeah, we got time.
I'm from the Midwest. I'm originally from Illinois, and I'll tend to give a long
Oh.
story. Okay. So anyway, we moved because I had a desire, and I was using coaching on myself. I had a desire to fulfill my dreams, and so one of them was to live in Southern California, and I had not succeeded when I was a teenager. So I went to pursue that again. My wife was in agreement, and so the four of us, the oldest and the youngest son, they moved with us, and we moved out to Los Angeles. So I was there for 3 years. We left LAX and moved to Rwanda. The reason why, over the years, we realized that my wife and I realized that financially, we would not live like we wanted to or be able to live like we wanted to in the United States. That's one reason, financially. Um, Coming from the DMV and in Southern California, and we were going to move to Houston, Texas. We had our
Mhm.
dream house on the wall for our vision board. And because I had friends in real estate with HUD where I had worked, they told me the whole market had changed. And so that was a downer. Also, I heard President Biden, he said that all federal employees and contractors needed to receive the vaccination jab. And I turned to my wife and said, we're out of here. Well, now, whatever that meant at the time, I wasn't sure. We had been to places like St. Kitts and Nevis, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, I don't know, other places to kind of investigate a little, but now everything was accelerated.
Mm. And
So,
when you
and
say accelerated, what do you mean?
um, I did not intend to receive this jab, this vaccination jab. That I,
Mm.
I, I wanted. I preferred that I got choice over what entered my body,
Mm.
and so I mean, it was a very interesting time for federal employees at that juncture because they were putting this pressure on federal employees and contractors, anyone doing business with the federal government. And I decided that enough was enough. And so what I did was I turned to my wife and said, we're out here, let's go. And we had thought about Africa a little bit. There are Also, aiding that decision was some interactions with law enforcement. Josiah had an interaction with law
Yeah.
enforcement at Towson University, where he pretty much had to kiss the pavement. I had an interaction with law enforcement in PG County, where we lived at the time, and I had to kiss the pavement in front of my own house. And so, what I'm saying is, if you just look at the front page of any newspaper, whether it's the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and just read above the fold, you see what's going on. And I just feel like there's this intensity that's building. So all of that's culminating, and we decided to make our exit. So I'm seeing the president speak at the end of the summer of 2021. And by the time we got to December, we were getting off a plane in Kigali, Rwanda.
What? Oh my God. So you had the resources in place already, or did you just say, I'll figure it out when we leave after?
Oh, great question. So we made some tough decisions. We had our house in Maryland while we still had our house in Maryland while we were living in Los Angeles, and we were renting it out, enjoying that nice, oh, that was nice, rental income. And we
Yeah.
decided to sell that house.
Wow.
Also, we were not minimalists, but I had met and worked with a few minimalists, and began looking at YouTube University, learning about minimalism.
Mhm.
And so we had cut back on things. I tried to start living my life more on purpose a few years before that. So suddenly we were totally out of debt by then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
making,
that's interesting. So you started, so how many years was that? Because a lot of people are leaving, but they don't know the process that what they should be doing now. I know a lot of people want to leave, but they don't know, like, what should I be doing now? So when you say minimalist, you mean you started really trimming the fat and getting your finances in a place where you just string back on basically what you needed to live.
That's
Is
yes,
right.
that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
yes, absolutely.
And from there, you decided on Rwanda.
Yes, we had.
And why and how?
I had looked at Zanzibar, and there were some properties here. However, they weren't constructed yet. They were building at the time. It's a new development, and so there were friends of ours who were in Rwanda, two families, and Rwanda also is. It has a reputation as having Kigali, one of the cleanest cities in East
Yeah.
Africa or on the continent, which is fairly true. It kind of rated up there with Tokyo, in terms. That's one of the places that I've been, and it's really clean.
Very organized.
Oh, thank you.
You were about to say
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
It's the government's very organized
Oh,
there with just
interesting.
things that they do, from the business bureau to the cleanliness. Like, you could just go and see various I guess teams of citizens just cleaning up and trimming. It's greenery everywhere. They're collecting trash and just making ways clear for everything, for traffic, for stuff. I think maybe in academia, the organization is there as well. And of course, for us to enter the country at that
Mhm.
time, we have some type of, I think, 10-year visa. I think some things change, with immigration and things. So I think we grandfathered into something, but the entry and all that organization to enter the country, better yet to live there, was very appealing to us. And it really helped that our family was just on calls with us. It all just kind of dovetailed by us just starting something, and then the opportunity
Mm.
to talk to them. We'd known them all of our lives, and they just popped back into our heads. And it's like, why don't we ask them? It doesn't mean we'll go there, but off the top of our heads, they're the only people we know living abroad that we're in constant contact with. So let's start and talk with them. And next thing we knew, that was the place that was a good soft landing for us for that first year.
Mhm. So that's a place that almost like your transition place. and then
Right.
Yes.
from
Yeah.
there you move to where you are now, Zanzibar. Okay, so that's something I don't think a lot of people would consider, because what we want to do on the podcast is give people like actionable steps. So to look at how well organized the country is, if you're considering Africa, and then look at the visa term. So talk to me a little bit about the visa. You said it was 10, it was a 10-year visa, but it's changed. How and why did it change, if you know?
Yes, it's a 10-year tourism visa. You only have to do border runs every 6 months. Every country is different in the world.
Oh,
If
you better tell her what a border run
Yeah,
is.
that's what I
a
was going to
board,
ask you. Because I might stop you because this is really educational for people. What is a
no
border run?
problem. Border run is when, if you're on a tourism visa or whatever visa, the government requires you to go out, get stamped, and then come back for reasons up to them. They probably share them on the website and things. I'm just not remembering. And so that's just them seeing that you're following their rules and everything. They're seeing where you're going, because that's at their discretion, if I'm saying that right. So you just get stamped, and then
Mhm.
you come back, and I guess the clock for your visa just restarts, and it's just for your records for wherever you're going.
Mm,
Zanzibar, in contrast, is like every 3 months. Other countries might be every year. It's just up to whatever country. So
got
that's what
you.
the border.
Mexico. Mexico has the same thing, for example.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure
It's so
Japan.
interesting that all the issues that we have in the US, I don't think we have any border runs. People just come into the border, right? So hearing this is very interesting to how other countries do it. And that's very organized. So what if
Yeah.
you own land? If you were to buy land, you don't, how do you become a citizen, or you just are never a citizen?
Oh, can I touch on that?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Jump in.
I I'd like you to reframe the question, because we're
Okay.
citizens of U.S. citizens by birth, although that's being challenged now.
Yeah.
So we tend to think of that. But if you really think about it, if somebody's trying to exit and move abroad, your first concern wouldn't necessarily be citizenship, because that may take years, whether you're in
Right.
Spain, Portugal, Mexico, I don't know, any other country, Costa Rica. Whereas if you get, as Josiah said, a visa, whether
Hmm.
it's as a digital nomad, a retiree,
Tourist.
and a tourist visa, an investor visa, it depends on the country, then work your way toward residency. So I
Okay.
actually have, so he has an investor
Hmm. Residency. Yeah.
residency, and
Gotcha.
I am Marlene, we have retirement residencies.
Hmm.
And it always depends on which country. It could be different in Kenya, different in Zimbabwe, or wherever. But the deal is, if you work toward that, depending on the country's laws, it could take 5 years, 10 years, whatever, to then get citizenship. But you have to ask yourself, does it serve me best? Because it may not even eventually serve you, because all of a sudden you might put yourself where you need, depending on their tax laws,
Right.
depending on voting or things like that. I
Got
mean,
you.
it depends on what's
Mhm.
driving your why. Why are you there? If I'm just here to drink mango juice and cross my legs and enjoy myself, I don't want that extra hassle.
Yep.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the concern that I think, I mean, we're having a real conversation is with the things that we're seeing now that play out in the US, is it possible for you to then lose your citizenship in the US? Because everything is fair game now with this president, right? With President Trump, I told people before when he came in office, I said, you need to be prepared. What you are seeing now is totally different. So anything you can compare what happened before, government layoffs, I did government contracting, still do. And people would say, well, they can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, they can. And literally every single thing that people said they could never possibly do, he has done. Do you think it's a scenario where he could revoke your citizenship, and then what does that look like for you? Because everything is on the table now with him.
Absolutely. And I hope people were listening to you when you were speaking to them. when you're sounding the trumpet, you're sounding the alarm. I really do. I realize I worked through several administrations from Justice, NASA, HUD, IRS. I've seen where people, I'm talking about senior executives, okay? So I've made it to the GS-15 level, and you're talking about people who were scared in their boots during one of Bush's administrations. And I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, okay? I'm
Me
just
either.
kind of,
Yeah. No one
I,
here is either. That's a distraction as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned.
that's a distraction. I'm just interested in my family doing well and me doing the best I can and moving forward. But to answer your question, my opinion is, yeah, you laid it out exactly what people need to be awakened to and aware of, and that is that anything is on the table. If people have ever heard the term, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. That'll give you an idea. I mean, that's kind of gentle. I tend to
Yeah.
come across
Yeah.
dramatically, but that's what it is. It's like I'll do what I want, and then later on, we'll go
Mhm.
see whether or not it was constitutional or not. If I may, there was a discussion that Stacey Abrams had with Anthony Anderson on the Jimmy Kimmel show, where she lays out
Mhm.
10 bullet points, which is
I
literally
saw
what
that.
we're.
Yeah.
And
I saw that.
he's progressing, this administration is progressing through those steps right now. And I think people need to be aware of that and kind of go back and listen to what she was saying, because we're verging around step number 7, the blame game and stuff like that. What happens then? Yeah, I think there's a test that's happening to individuals who may not be so-called Black or African American, but it's next on the agenda. It's like coming. It's like a test case, okay, dealing with Garcia, I think is his name. I forgot, that got sent to El
Yeah.
Salvador and all this kind of stuff. That was just kind of to feel things out, see how far I could go, and then get ready to move forward. Could we lose our citizenship? Yeah. Not when you say we, it's not that royal we. Everybody could lose their citizenship
Yeah.
just like that,
Yeah.
because they're looking at the birth. What is it? The
Birth
Birth
rate?
citizenship. Birth
Birthright
citizenship.
citizenship.
Yeah.
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 So they're looking at that, which to me is more reason to try to get yourself established someplace else,
Yeah.
and then work toward what you mentioned earlier. Then really have the long range plan to go after that citizenship, or at least passports.
Yeah.
We are not in the financial area of 7, 8 figure business and executives. Maybe some of your listeners are. So we tap into what our Caucasian cousins are doing, and seeing these people who may have 7, 8, 9 figure businesses, and they are making sure they've got multiple passports that they can, and they're looking at African countries,
Mhm.
and they're
I
also
know.
looking at
Strong.
Taiwan,
Yeah.
Thailand.
Thailand, yeah,
Thailand.
really
Yep.
up and coming places. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So
Diversification.
what are the up and coming places? Because I had a conversation. We did a podcast interview about a week ago, and one of the gentlemen who has his own, he does gaming, so he creates games, and it was on manufacturing and how the tariffs. He said you will feel the tariffs starting in the fall, like back to school and Christmas time. That's when we'll see the impact of the tariffs. He said because a lot of the stuff that you're seeing has a 4 to 6 month what I call propagation time. So you don't really see it in the reality of it or the impact until you are 6 months in. And that will put us in the fall and Christmas time. And so I was talking to him, and I said, the question is, are you able to leave? And how much money do you need? Are you in the financial position to leave? And he said, I could make some moves that would position me to leave. And he said, one of the places that is up and coming is Africa. And this is a white gentleman. And the reason why I say this is because I think so many people just tend to think Africa, you have to be Black or, a person of color to move to Africa. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing other people are looking for opportunity, stability, in Africa, and that is a viable solution to people. Because I never considered Africa until I was looking at Italy. That was my exit place. But then when I started talking to Tiffany, the producer of the show, she suggested Africa. And I told her, I said, one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned with is how the education system, because I do have a child, what is that looking like? Is it organized from a business perspective, the Wi-Fi connection, not having to give up my creature conference? But then she started telling me like all the great things that are happening. So I'm glad that you're here because now we're able to set like the framework for what people need to be doing. And the fact that you might even be better in another country if you don't have a lot of money. People think just wealth, but you can leave and not have to be wealthy.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, your money, depending on where you go, conversion rates are a thing. And as of right now, even with inflation and discussions of bricks, and even with life being a bit topsy turvy, right now, British pounds and USD, last I checked, still go the furthest right now. So that is like, what do you have in your hand right now? Well, that's what you have. If you're a US citizen in this case, you have USD going very far, as we experienced in Rwanda and Zanzibar. You have a blue passport. If you don't, get your blue passport, because that still right now holds many advantages. And that's what you have. From an African standpoint of like maybe development and things, some of the countries that come to mind for development are like Mauritius. That's another island. South Africa.
I have literally never heard of that island. Can you spell it?
Mauritius.
Okay, and
It's
we'll
on the
put
rock.
that in the chat in the description as well. And that's a great island as well.
That's a great one as well. We're very interested in visiting there as well. Last we checked, it is, fact check this, but it is technically a free tourism visa or digital nomad visa or retirement visa based on you telling the government, I make 1,500 USD or their equivalent, because I think they operate in rupees. So whatever their threshold is, let's say it's 1,500 USD. Hi, Mauritian government, I make that either as an entrepreneur working outside of your country or as a retiree getting my money. I make that monthly. Here's my information. And we hear that they're very expedient. We have some friends and contacts, colleagues that we've worked with and who have helped us, we'd never heard of Mauritius either. So they've kind of been on the rise the past 2 years in particular, and it currently sounds very attractive. And so go ahead.
Their president is really promoting it.
Yeah.
Here's an example. So he got on, since we have a YouTube channel, and so we dabble in that area. And so he actually did videos with a Instagram influencer and did the video with her, promoting, as he just went through what Josiah said. And they're showing pictures of the pristine waters, the mountains, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Also, let's put a word on the table that maybe people avoid: corruption. So yeah, you're going to have some corruption in some places, okay?
Well, you had it here. So.
Yeah, Mauritius is one of the top 10 least, LEAST, least corrupt countries on the continent of Africa. And that's a good thing to know right there. Also, Rwanda is on that top 10 list, okay? So just thought I'd just go ahead and bring it out on the table, because maybe that's sometimes people's concern. It's very inviting to know that I could just pay $1,500 for a 10-year retirement thing. I'm sorry, I don't pay $1,500. It's my money. I just keep it in a Mauritius bank because they want income. If you notice the way Josiah laid it out, they just want to know you're not going to come and mooch off of their country. And I mean, the United States doesn't want you doing that. Nobody wants you doing that.
Right. Well, how do we end up where we are now? But that's a whole nother show. Yeah.
That was a good one. But anyway, so other countries, you were
Yeah,
asking him and he was answering countries to go
yeah, but yeah,
to.
Mauritius, South Africa, Botswana, Kenya. I think, did I list 4 or 5 just then?
Oh, Zimbabwe also.
Zimbabwe as well. So those are just like 4 or 5 African nations in particular that
Right.
are very good for development and business. I think all 5 of them or so rate very high on the global peace index. That's something people can
Oh,
Oh,
Google
that's
right
good
now.
to look at.
We make
Global
use of
Peace
that.
Index.
Yes, ma'am. We share that on the channel Awaken with Mark all the time.
Okay.
Things fluctuate and change, so you want to be aware of those things. Some of these things you can find in newsletters or follow YouTube channels like ours or what have you. But Global Peace Index is huge, and I think all 5 of those nations in particular rate very high, if not at least half of them. But those are
I heard,
resources people.
oh, God, I heard Ghana is really good too.
Yes, Ghana's really good. We know a couple families out there as well who have even married like native Ghanaians and started families and
Oh,
are doing
wow.
well in entrepreneurship and things like construction, art, and CMOS and things like that. I follow them on Instagram and we chat. Different
Did you
land
say
and
art?
properties.
Did you say art?
Yeah, one I'm thinking of in particular is an artist. She's also a life coach and is working in CMOS. She does a lot of different things actually in
Okay.
design, jewelry design and things. So the migrating mom is her name. So she's
Oh,
pretty awesome.
wow.
Yeah, the other family is African Exodus. So we've been following them for a while. We're just always in a homework
Wow.
mode,
This is
really.
so
Whether it's
exciting. So
whether it's
you're
another
never
place.
bored. You're never bored or without purpose.
No, no, no,
no, no.
no, no, no. No, no. We want to see all the. We want to continue to travel the world. We want to see all the African countries if we can. Dad, I think, hinted at it. He'd gone to Tokyo with my brother Daniel, who's here with us now. He went to Bermuda with my other brother, who's still
Mm.
doing his thing in America. He went to Jamaica with my other brother, who's still doing his thing in America. He and I went to Mexico, I think, a year before I graduated high school. He and mom spent time in St. Kitts and Nevis and things. And so we've always been very interested in executing on visiting the world and learning
Mm.
Spanish in high school, learning Swahili here. My girlfriend teaches us Swahili and connects us with people. Um, no, never bored, never without purpose.
Oh, wow. And so how did you end up from Rwanda to Zanzibar?
Oh, so my wife and I and Daniel, we went looking at properties in Rwanda, and
Yeah.
I, and there's good properties there. However, I felt that the properties were reminding me, the pricing was reminding me of Rockville or
What?
Maryland,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel the amenities were there. Also, um, I think people need to be honest with themselves. So I'm originally from Illinois. When I moved to the East Coast, and then we took family vacations down in Virginia Beach, Sandbridge. We would go there every year, rent a beach house. The ocean. When I'm coming up I-64 and I saw that ocean at water level, when you come out of the tunnel, that changed my life. Okay, so in Rwanda, you're landlocked. There's mountains.
Oh,
Oh, there is a land. I think it's a land of a thousand
The
hills
land
or
of a
something.
thousand hills, nearest big body of
wow.
water, Kivu, which kind of looks like a sea, but that's like 2 hours from Kigali. But yeah,
So the deal is, when we went in houses and thought about it, and I didn't feel the amenities were equal with the pricing, although the pricing is it's good, okay. And then I remembered what was on in Zanzibar, and Zanzibar's got the ocean, right? You
right.
got the water.
Ah,
So me and Marlene, we like that, and that's why
Me
I'm
too.
saying one of the key things is you got to start with why. Why are you leaving? Sometimes it's good to exit pain, and that'll help motivate a person. I need to do crunches, or I need to do stretches, or I need to walk because I want to be alive, to be with my oldest son, my sons, my wife. That's a motivator. But also at the same time, I might say, it feels good when I do my walking, when I do my stretches or whatever that chair exercise is. So some motivators are getting you away from pain. Some motivators are like this dream you have, this goal, this you see yourself becoming this person. And so my point is that when a person's thinking about moving abroad, they need to understand their why from both points of view, because you're going to face obstacles no matter what you try to do in life. And so to get through the obstacle, you need to have a strong why that gets you through that obstacle. And so that's why you need a motivator from away from pain, and sometimes a motivator of this dream that you have. But sometimes the more powerful one is the pain you don't want to feel anymore. In other
Right.
words, if a person can write right now and say, I'm sick and tired and fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Therefore, in the next 7 days, I will what? I will go look up some of the websites that Josiah has already mentioned, or I will research a few countries and just see what it's looking like. Or how about this? I will get out of debt. What will I do? Well, I'll start using cash, because when I swipe that plastic card, I don't feel anything leaving me. But when I have to pull out my wallet and count out
Honey,
some dollars, it's a different story.
Like you do
it
here.
sure is. I started doing that. I want to call you Papa Mark so bad because you get such good. I started doing it when I take out $100, $200 a week. And with $200 a week, that's it. I don't touch anything in the bank. And so when you see that money going away, you're like, we're going to do it at the dollar store. We're not going to be at this Target. But it's a really good practice to not use that card. But this is something I wanted to ask you. What were the housing prices in Rwanda? What were they looking like? Because I'm in DMV, and Rockville, Bethesda is like $1 million. So what are we talking about for Rwanda now?
Okay, thank you. Let me card up. Maybe not. See, when I was in Rockville, it was 1980 something. Okay, when I was working in
Oh, okay.
Bethesda at IBM there at the Rusty Bucket area. So the prices, the answer to your question was like, I think 120,000, 118,000. Okay, now you're probably thinking that's cool, but remember, in Laurel, Maryland, I could walk to where they tore down the mall.
Right.
But I mean, you got that whole mall area. You got I don't know, Olive Garden. You got Chick-fil-A. You got
The movie theater.
you got all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
You don't have that there. You don't have a what is it? A gym.
Right. Pool. Again, shopping plaza. The attractions and amenities are not yet what you're used to. And our friends, they keep us up to date because our family's still there in Rwanda. Things are moving up, just not at the pace that we're used to, that invite, the amenities that would make you want to stay at the property or the apartment. Better yet, the attractions. They're not like you were saying, shopping mall, all these restaurants, shoe stores, what have you. They're few and far between. They exist there, but they're few and far between right now. And so that's one reason to know why you want to go a certain place. When you do your research, is the pricing where you want it to be for quality and cost of living? And what does that include? Because as a U.S. citizen, you're used to certain things like the price. We saw you kind of get hyped there because the price sounded attractive for what is already there. That's where scouting trips, YouTube research, blog research comes in. When you hear of property and cost of living in a certain country, in a certain town, well, do they have what you're used to? Do they have bike trails? Do they have what we were reminded of? What's it called? The Beltville, or I'm not saying it right, in Atlanta, Georgia.
Beltline down in Atlanta that goes around Atlanta.
Like, that's amazing.
A walking, jogging, biking path that goes all the way around the city.
So if you want that, is that available in the country and the towns and cities that you're looking for your quality of life? If it's not, you might want to look somewhere else, but I know that's a free example, the Beltline. But again, that's stuff that you might take for granted when you're doing research. You want to keep those things top of mind.
I lived in London before, and I loved it. The one thing though is it's super expensive. And then I went to Italy a couple times, and I feel that the lifestyle I would like for me and my child kind of fits that. But the things that I like could be applied anywhere, right? So you got your beach, you have like a metropolitan area. And so I think I was looking at Luca, and it was somewhere between 250K to buy a home, and that's everything in. And so I started partnering with a young lady who Nikki, who helps people relocate. So she's saying a lot of expats are in Italy, and tons of them
Hmm.
from the US. But that's her sole job. And now, and this is the point I want to get to, is people are now like some of those homes in Italy that you could buy for a dollar. They're so dilapidated, but what she's seen happen is so much development has happened because they're researching these old areas and quaint villages in Italy. And now people are developing. So it's just a matter of time. Like Earn Your Leisure, I think, is in Ghana, and they are developing all of this land in Ghana. So in about 5 to 10 years, you're going to I mean, if that's something that you want. I personally don't really need all that. I like the little beach shops, and I just need good education. I need some level of Wi-Fi, and I need to feel safe. Those are my three things, and I can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be Italy. It could be Africa. It could be New Zealand. It could be anywhere. But for me, I think, you know, safety is a concern. So I like the fact that you gave us homework to go on the Global Peace Index and see what are some of the safer areas. But I would definitely want to be near a beach. And for me, is to escape. I look at what people are, how the US is with education and how people are raising their children now. And I personally I believe that people are disconnected, and the kids that are coming up now are going to have a lot of challenges, because I think that parents are so busy surviving that
Yeah.
they're not doing the proper things that they need to do to invest in creating dynamic human beings. From education, they're undoing education, right? And it's
Hmm.
not like you said earlier. I'm glad you said that, Papa Mark. It's not a Republican and Democrat, and I think that's the distraction. But when they get rid of
Hmm.
education, that's going to impact everyone, because now we're pushing education down to the state level and then the county level. And that, what people don't know is that money comes from the taxes, property taxes in most places. So if you
Hmm.
have houses that are 250,000 as
Hmm.
opposed to homes that are like 850 and 1.2 and $1 million up, who's going to get the better education? Right?
Yeah.
And then that's
Yeah.
gonna, so that all stuff, that stuff is playing out, and people are so inundated with credit card debt, trying to survive. I mean, I was at the grocery store today. You can't, you're not focusing on the children. And for me, I want to be around people, whether they are wealthy or not, who can afford and are intentional about play dates for your children, because they know that means your kids are going to have communication skills. They're going to know how to interact with people, versus what we're seeing now. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago where 30% of males between 25 and 35 are not getting married. And they are concerned that that is a breeding ground for domestic terrorists, because you're on you're on these social devices all the time. You're not engaging with people. People are not working, which most of us know. You meet your partners or your wives and husbands at work. So now they're
Hmm.
in the basement, and I can tell you from conversations I have, I'm blessed enough to have friends that are of diverse backgrounds. White men are concerned that this is happening to their sons. They're like, you need to get married, you need to be a family, you're not working in an environment anymore. And then on top of that, what's also happening is that the anti-women thing, women culture that's breeding, that fosters a whole lot of other stuff. So for me, I want to be around people who are intentional about raising good human beings. That's my focus. It's nice to have good stuff. I have that. But what's more important for me is to have a well rounded child who's not weird and knows how to interact with people. Right. And so that is what I'm looking for.
Amen to that.
Yes, we totally agree with you. There was one thing you mentioned much earlier that I really wanted to get back to, and it had, well, the answer is that I see white folks coming to the continent, to countries in Africa, and I see them on the beaches, I see them owning hotels and restaurants, and I believe that African Americans, blacks, are in the UK and Canada, and they're believing the news. And the news is a distraction of what they're being fed about the negative things on the continent. But
Mm,
when you walk in Rwanda, when you walk in Uganda, when you walk on the beach in Paje and Zanzibar or in Dar es Salaam, you're going to see Italians, Germans. Why? Because Italy actually first had their interaction with Ethiopia in those wars a while back, which
mm.
they didn't
I
win.
heard about that. Yeah.
Germany had colonized, I guess,
Tanzania.
what, Tanzania,
Yeah.
Namibia, all over the place. You have the Netherlands,
Hmm.
the Dutch coming, and what it is it's they're coming and they're spending their money to buy these low cost. Well, things are cheaper, and
Yeah.
things go farther. You didn't ask us, but the U.S. dollar uh, to the Tanzanian shilling, one US dollar, it fluctuates because there's an exchange rate every day, right? But it's like 2,558,000 when I last checked a few minutes ago, shillings to every $1. So what does that mean? That means if I go in the store and I see something that's 20,000 shillings, I just divide by 3 to get a ballpark, because math, I'm doing what I can. And 3 goes into 7, what, 2 times? So it's telling me it's about $20, this thing or $2 or something
$2.
like that. You follow what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm getting 2.5 times my dollar rate here in Tanzania, Zanzibar, with regard to the shilling. It's going to be better in South Africa. It's pretty good in Uganda. Those are the kinds of things that happen that mean, well, I'm actually doing quite better than I
Right.
was in the US. And I didn't have a $500 car payment. I didn't have, because we just said, hey, it's paid for, it works, so this is good for us. Um, but people, they don't realize that. Last thing, I think people need to watch out for the golden handcuffs. The golden
Mm.
Yeah.
handcuffs to me are the
Yes.
convenience.
Yeah. But when I think about that, what that means to me is there's opportunity. There's
Yes,
opportunity for you. Like now, let's say 3 years from now, let's say next year, I want to buy up land. You tell me where to buy, and in 5 years, I'm going to assemble 10 people I know. Some of them are physicians, business owners, and we're going to come in with 10 million and we're going to say, we want to build out a community here. That's the kind of stuff that is opportunity. So you don't have to be wealthy, but there's so much more opportunity available. And that
yes.
is, I think, the missing part. Whereas what I liked about Nikki in Italy is she was working with people who were construction people. I mean, honestly, if you're in construction, you can make a gold mine in Africa right now. I mean,
Yes.
that should be something that it's easy enough to do. But I just think that what's missing, and is a very good business, is bridging the gap between people who are interested in moving. Where should they go, which you've just laid out, and what business opportunities are looking like. And I mean, so even if you're a plumber here, you could be a construction, a developer in Africa.
Oh yeah, you definitely would be.
And how do you
Yes.
start that process? I think is an opportunity for business. That's why it's like really developing. When you look at the average age of, I did a podcast, the gentleman who he was saying like the US has a dying population because again, that age group 25 to 35 aren't having kids. They aren't having enough kids. And then you look at Africa, the fact that they have so many young people under the age of men under the age of 35, they said that's what they look at economically to see the sustainability of a country. I had no idea. And so I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, there's so much opportunity. But the business opportunity is really trying to help people figure out how to get access to the government to do some of these projects. And so, where would we start? Like, let's just say you're in Zanzibar now. What's the price of eggs in Zanzibar? I'm just curious.
My wife buys the eggs. Let's see here.
We can get, I think we can get 30 to 32 eggs for maybe $5.
What?
Maybe a little less. Yeah, I mean, you can get them segmented, but the largest one oftentimes is this big 30 to 32 crate that we go down to the market, the souk, and it's probably $5 or less for like 32 eggs, maybe.
One other thing about that price Josiah gave you, thank you.
Yeah.
Those eggs, they have probably come from regular chickens, not chickens that look like they were auditioning for The Incredibles.
Ballooned up.
Yeah.
No.
You need to ask yourself, why are you eating chicken wings that look like turkey legs? There's something.
My God, that's so true.
There's something going on. So, I mean, that was one thing I noticed. Yeah, it's like they're real animals, real fruit, real vegetables. And well, I mean, even Europe they had banned red dye and things like that years ago. They don't allow that stuff. So you need
London
to take that in
that too. They don't play with their food. London is like that too. Like they're intense with
with the food. So our dollar goes a whole lot further shopping for food here. And I'm glad you asked him. I'm glad he had the answer to that question. But the deal is, it's like, but it's like I'm saying, but I'm repeating myself now. It's cheaper or least expensive. It's probably a healthier egg.
It's better for you. Yeah. And they even got when we went last to the market, it can freak you out a little bit, but they've got, the chickens plucked and everything just laying out there. And you haggle, and it's like, does that, my mom and my girlfriend are going and shopping, and they, make sure they put the liver and everything in there for you, and we're checking it out and whatnot. And it's, but they look normal. Like when we first landed in East Africa here, and we saw the chickens, because it's agriculture everywhere.
Yeah.
You thought there was something with the chickens because they were so small. Like, is she healthy? She's just normal. Like, I mean, there's still some GMO. It's very light here. There's still something going on depending on where we're at, but they look normal, and the food goes farther and things. And there's also natural things, like we're picking neem leaves. That's like the anti-cancer tree, like tree of life. That's right in front of I drink it like in cycles, like every other 30 days. He hooked us onto moringa seeds, which you can get on Amazon, but they grow right here. Lemongrass tea all over the place, and other herbs and things that are good for you you can package it up and sell it, or you can buy it the one time and then, plant it yourself. Mom is starting to start ourselves a little garden. We have a really cool neighbor from Kenya. She started a garden with all types of stuff, and it's just a different way of, I know urban gardens and things are becoming more popular in the States. I'm subscribing to channels, getting some ideas. So that's great. People are starting there as well. And you can transfer that skill and gift if you want to live abroad as well. If you're into agriculture and healthy eating, my mom's a big health nut. So moving to Africa or moving out of the States for better health, she just hit 70. We have a video doing very well. They're like, no, she's not 70. And she looks great because of the blood pressure is down with the moringa seeds, with the, not dealing with the U.S. level of corruption and racialized and stress, anxiety. And then she's eating even better than she already was. She was already eating organic, which can be very expensive, as I recall, in the States. Yeah. But then you do it here, and as an expat, because things are different depending on how you live as a local versus as a foreigner. We don't have rose-colored glasses on with that. We get it, depending on your lifestyle. But in the case of an expat, we already established your dollar goes further. And if you want to eat more organic, for example, that's even more accessible to you. So those are some benefits right there.
He didn't even mention I've picked the banana off my neighbor's tree, and when I say that, I mean it's 30 feet away. Um, Papaya,
Mango.
mango,
Yep.
soursop.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What else do? Oh, you said papaya
Oh,
already.
yeah.
Pineapple,
Pineapple.
avocado.
Yeah, there you go. Y'all love
Yeah,
avocados. Yeah.
red bananas. Better
Red
yet.
bananas?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
What?
Plant.
Oh my God.
Plantains. Yeah. Plantains. Yep.
Have y'all thought about doing like a travel tour, like travel tourism to bring people to Zanzibar?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
no,
Well,
you answer.
we've got videos on the channel, Awaken with Mark right there on our thing, where we've been to, the beach, or we went to, I think maybe the spice farm. That one might be up right
Oh,
now when this goes up. In different places. I'm trying to remember places in Rwanda and Zanzibar. Anywhere else that you?
Oh, but I got to ask you, did you mean us bringing groups of people here and
yeah.
physically
I
taking
mean,
them?
I think people like you have somebody in the States that you work with to coordinate a travel tourism. They do it for everything. A travel tourism trip, and they will come and you
Yeah.
do the hotel and they'll pay a fee to kind of look at different opportunities for development, land, get to experience the culture. They might do it for a week, almost like a delegation of business owners or people who might be interested in leaving the States but are looking for opportunities. Because remember, a lot of government people are laid off. They still have nice pensions. They have money saved. They have their retirement, and they have a little extra cash to spend. So they might be ready
Yeah.
to move and have purpose, not just to escape, yeah, but move somewhere else and take advantage of opportunities there.
Yeah, my girlfriend Evelyn is working with one family we've been talking to because they're going to come down here. Thanks for clarifying. They're going to come down here and visit for a little while. So she's organizing some stuff with them
Yeah,
right now. So we just have people, email us, and we can help connect you with the people, boots on the ground, whether it's
yeah,
my girlfriend or someone else who they're from here. They know what the country has to offer, and they can
right.
connect you with the right people. Awakenwithmark@gmail.com. That's easy. So that's how we do that. So yeah, because people dad was telling us about like the layoffs and things and
Yeah,
how it's really weighing heavily on people. But that's the time to like start laying plans and like you're basically
right.
describing a scouting trip, because that's what this
Yeah,
one family is.
exactly.
We met one other
Exactly.
family in Stonetown, Zanzibar, a few weeks ago. They were doing safaris and things, and they emailed us and they wanted to check out some stuff. And so they came and had dinner with us and told us their story. We shared more with them. So yeah, there are networking and connections and things now for people to be doing, getting off of YouTube. It's a good YouTube university is great. We're glad you're here on All Americanish. And then you take that information and transfer it to, okay, in the next 7 days,
Yeah,
where can I scout? What's my why? You're talking about education, living right. Okay, when I scout, who can I connect with? Might be Awaken with Mark. Who do they know? What's the entry into the country? Budgeting. Who am I coming with? Etc.
yeah,
Possible. Your dream is
yeah.
saying, "Wake up." It's possible.
That's the key. And from this conversation, what I will definitely do is work with you to put together a document or something that people can start like an action plan, because people honestly just don't know what the process should be. So you're in
Right.
Zanzibar. How much is it roughly for a house in Zanzibar?
Um, Let me give you a couple prices. So we have a 3-bedroom townhouse that we actually closed in the back porch, so we have a fourth room, between 95 and 100K. We can uh, our view to the ocean got blocked a little bit, but it's about football field and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not that far.
Nah. Yes.
So, um, but you could probably have something stupendous built. But realize I'm coming from the mentality of a $450,000 house in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. But oh my gosh, for 200,000, Well, for 450,000, you would have a sea villa with 3 levels, wall to ceiling glass, sliding doors. When I say sea villa, I mean like you could throw a rock and be able to hit the water. Okay. Um, and definitely for about 450,000. So anything in between those two prices. But the thing is, everything, let's be real. When you bring in people with money who can afford this stuff, so like my son's own properties here,
Hmm.
the price begins to go
Yeah.
up because it's like, what did they tell it? Your one of your
One
properties
of
went
our,
up by thirty
I
percent or
think something
something
like,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and it's not even being finished built yet, because the the opportunity and those people coming from other countries can't afford it and they're willing to pay because it's still such a great deal. So I hope I
Yeah.
answered your question, but that's
You did. I mean, 450,000. I mean, you making me rethink my Italy exit plan for sure. What about how, like, so it's the beach, and so there's beachfront property as well?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
yes.
sure.
Yeah, we have some other friends here who are in a different development,
Mhm.
and yeah, what do they got? 5 or so bedrooms? I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Um,
Took me a minute to remember. Yeah, I think they've got about 5 or so bedrooms. They can see the ocean
yeah,
as well, and
you can
also,
walk to the beach.
and
Yeah.
we're in Zanzibar, so it's tourism island.
Yeah.
So there's stuff be as developments and or hotels and Airbnbs and things, being built up all the time. Just to let people know, that can weigh into or factor into where a person is looking. So
Mhm.
tourism is very big here on this island.
Wow. Okay. And religion, how is that? Is it a Muslim-based country?
Hmm.
Yeah, this is about 95, 97% Muslim, the island of Zanzibar.
That's right.
And they do prefer to like it the way it is. So you're not
Hmm.
gonna, there's no Kentucky. I don't know if that has to deal with Muslim or not, but they do like the culture the way it is. Meaning, they might tell the young men that they don't like braids and locks. For those who are native born Zanzibarians, they uh, that there's no Kentucky Fried Chicken here. There's no McDonald's. I'm not saying you eat McDonald's, but it's just a good barometer. I'm in
Mhm.
Kyoto and I go into a
Right.
Burger King or something like that. I know what I'm getting. But the answer to your question is, yeah, that it's 97% here, and that's one of the things that people need to go through
Hmm.
when they're looking at something. There was a saying that we had whenever I went and do a team building or something like that, and that is, culture eats your strategy for breakfast. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is, you can have the best strategy you want and all these ideas that make sense logically. Culture is not logical, and culture is more than food and music.
Right.
It's, I don't know. Here's a funny one for you. I'll be quick with it. I'm coming from Springfield, Illinois. I moved to Washington, D.C. My childhood friend was marrying a girl from DC. So his mother, who I knew, was following me in the car, and we were going to the rehearsal dinner. And Mrs. Singleton is behind me in her car, and I was on the 14th Street Bridge, and I was heading towards Virginia, but I missed the turn. And so when we finally got to the place and went through some turns and stuff, she came over out of her car to my car and said, "Mark, I kind of lost you a little bit there." And this was in the daytime. And she said, "That car got in between us. Didn't they see I had my lights on?" You see, where I'm from in central Illinois, you had your lights on in 1976 when you were from out of town. That's
Mhm.
culture.
Yeah.
Culture is when Denzel Washington explains the difference between, what's that, the one who has all the cussing in it,
Oh,
the
Tarantino.
direct Tarantino. So if
Mhm.
Tarantino does a film about a black girl getting her hair pressed,
Right.
he don't know nothing about the kitchen. He don't know nothing
Hmm.
about the smell on Sunday morning. That's
Right.
culture. People need to
Right.
understand that's the thing you can't like get it on YouTube. You can't get it
Right.
You
doing
gotta
internet
experience
search.
it. Yeah.
you got to experience it, and it may take a little while
It will
for
take a little
you
while. Yeah.
to discern what's going on around you.
Yeah, because it's very family oriented here as well. And so, like Saturday and especially Sunday is family day at any given restaurant or any activities they have. If you want Kentucky Fried Chicken, you just go to Dar es Salaam. That's like a 30-minute flight or a 2-hour ferry ride. But you're going to find the families up in KFC in Dar es Salaam on Sunday. The men are wearing, Muslim men are wearing their finest white attire. They're stepping out on Friday because that is culture. There is prayers. You'll hear calls for prayers. And again, I'm talking about family. When they meet you, Baba Mark, Kaka Josiah. Kaka is brother in Swahili. I saw your brother Daniel. How is your mother? And they really want to know. And they'll stand there and wait. There's sometimes we'll be driving down the road. They usually have 2-lane roads, so you got to get used to that. And sometimes there'll be cars parked just so where you got to go around, and they're double parked. Why? Because the passenger on the left side of the car, because the driver's on the right, he's talking to somebody, and they don't care. They're catching up. They talking to the mama. She's cooking some chapati, or they picking a chicken, or so, and they just talking and it's laughing. That's culture. And you just go around and you honk a little bit, but you don't flip nobody off. But it's very people oriented and very family, and they like it that way. And sometimes it might take you as a foreigner to get used to. We're still getting used to. It's going on 4 years of us living in East Africa, living outside of the States. We're still learning things every day. We're still being tested, but we passing the test and we're still thriving.
I must say this on the heels of what Josiah just explained to you. The folks in other countries, and they're relational. I find from the West, we are transactional. He just explained to you what relational is.
Yeah, I experienced that in my travels as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to bear that in mind. And sometimes you just got to roll with it when you do your scouting trip. Better yet, when you move, you're going to get beat up a little bit by the culture, but it's going to be okay as we've learned. And it's a transformative thing. I think a lot of people, Dad, we based our channel and our business on transformation and personal development. And a lot of people understandably think that, it's just the immigration. It's just the currency. It's just the language. It includes those things, but you're also transforming. I don't care if you're going to a Western country where things are more familiar, but they're only more familiar. There's still going to be differences that are going to test your limits to see, can you emerge into a new culture and start over?
That's so good. Because with you just saying that, I'm like, okay, I have clearly in mind like what would fit what my needs would be. And one thing might just be a business opportunity, but not necessarily for me to live, because that would drive me crazy. People being double parked and picking chickens on the side of the road. I would be like, oh my God, I can't live like this. But that's me. But I know other people who would, my friend Audrey would love that. And so you got to know, like, and I think the Muslim piece for me, because I'm raising my daughter as a Christian, would be a huge deal breaker for me. So that would be culturally something that I would have to look at. But I never thought about that from the religious perspective. So I'm glad I asked that question. And what's the education system like there?
Well, they'll tend to use, trying to think of the name of the systems from the West, like
there's like London something school. I see the sign in my mind's eye right now. I just can't remember what it is, but they have different British schools here. Boarding school.
They tend to be boarding schools.
Yeah, our buddy Ashley in Africa, her daughter is doing boarding school here right now. She's on internship at a restaurant, but she's doing boarding school here right now. So those things are available. Dad's looking at other stuff, or he thought he could find it. They also have, for what it's worth, people might consider looking into Boundless. I don't know a lot about them, but there are expat families I'm following. They've been to Albania, Greece, and other places. And as I understand it, it's built for expat families. And so
Okay.
it's a community for kind of digital nomad homeschooling, so to speak. There are activities, there are curriculums and things. There are some have, I think, centers built in different countries and different cities and things like that.
Mm,
So watching this might consider just looking into what is this boundless thing
okay.
about. I've seen it come up a few times with people with little ones, raising
Yeah,
children.
I think for homeschooling that works. There's pros and cons for homeschooling. I think the socialization piece, there's been data on that shows some kids who are homeschooled, it works for some, it doesn't work for others. So I know for my daughter, I thought
Right.
about it wouldn't work for her. It would not work for her.
Oh,
She needs
gotcha.
He needs to be in organized, like every day we have things at a certain time, structure, but also she's very social. And I want to foster that because I know she recedes when she's not socialized. And so me and her just, oh my God, that wouldn't be good. But for some people, they're really great at it. And I think it does work. So I think that's where
Yeah.
you have to look at education. What I was saying earlier, it has to be
Yeah.
customized for your child and not just about what you want to do. And in the US, you have so many things coming at you with all the indoctrination, as I say. You got to know, like, okay, where do you want them to be? What are they being taught? And having a girl is very different too than having a boy.
I wouldn't know about that. But
I
as,
know.
as Josiah was saying, he and his three brothers, they were homeschooled. And yeah, it kind of depends on the individual. I think that made them self starters, but they also
Yeah.
did things that I'd never done. Like I spent most of my time at the boys' club playing basketball or bumper pool or something like that, or at the YMCA. Whereas Josiah was taking fencing,
Mm.
riding lessons, horseback riding lessons, and stuff like that. And there's Laurel, Maryland had one of the largest, I think, homeschooling groups in the country at one point in
I
time.
think so. Yeah.
And
That's good.
so,
Different
so
co-ops and oversights
they,
to
Yeah.
help families.
and they were going out all the time and doing so they were
Social
going
thing.
out to their time. Yeah. Cambridge is the name of the system that I was trying to come up with.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Cambridge.
Cambridge
And then
system.
I think homeschooling helps too if you have siblings because that helps a little bit more with the socialization in a lot of ways as well. But now what they're doing in the States is they're being a lot more intentional about they recognize that the socialization for kids is so important. So now they're doing proms, they're doing more things to promote that socialization. Like they have activities that are school related. So I think that's coming around, and micro schools are working. So if I could find a scenario like that, I'm definitely going to look into this balance. Then that would make me a little bit, give me a little bit more security, just to make sure that her personality and her social emotional skills are being addressed as well. Academically, it's just that's a whole nother animal because I feel like that in the education system in the US, they don't really push the kids like they should because you're dealing with so many different levels in a classroom. And a friend of mine who's an educator, she said you just can't. There's no way to teach at every so she said it's a challenge. So the education is definitely still an area of development. But I love the fact that they are intentional expats with boundless. So I'm going to look into that. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah.
So this has been phenomenal. So what would you say the first step is so this is what I have so far. The first step in deciding where you want to go is to visit other places, see how you feel about the culture, just the economic, the finance, start making your plan, minimizing your income so that you could actually have money, save money and get prepared knowing looking at the global index to see whether or not it's a peaceful area that you might want to consider going to. Then you would look at what type of visas they have, retirement visas, digital nomad visas, investment visas. Look at the time that you have to re-up your visa, if it's 6 months, if it's a year, and then look at some of the opportunities that may be available for either working schools, like if they have a organized education system, or if not, look at some kind of homeschooling options. And then the other thing I would say, based on our conversation, you would say plan to have a play. Think about the why, like what's forcing you to go, and then what are you purposed to do if that's going to be necessarily a place that you stay in. And then ultimately, you want to kind of start anticipate a year to 18 months for a transition. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think we reorganize it. We'd start with why first.
Yeah.
That's
Why
what we do.
first? Correct. Yep.
What we do on our videos, in our workshops. We do have multiple workshops, move abroad, starter workshops a year on Zoom and whatnot. And we always start with why.
Why
What is
you
that?
want to go?
Success.
Yeah.
I think mind's identity / why, mindset, and then the processes you just went through. All that research. Because
Okay.
you got to start with who you are and what works for you first. Otherwise, all that
Right.
logistics, depending on
Right.
who you are, it's gonna actually overwhelm you. But why and who you are and what you want to do, whether something's forcing you, whether something's inviting you, or something between, that can inform all the other research practices of budgeting, immigration, it's real estate, etc. If you start with you, because you are living abroad, we want
Right.
people to remember you're still alive, you and your family. It's
Mhm.
not, it'll feel like a job, but we don't want you to feel like a product or a job clocking in, clocking out. It is for your livelihood. And so it's got to begin
Yeah.
with you, your
I
identity, and
think,
your.
and I think I like that the process is different. I think one of the things that I would love to do, I think a lot of people do, is they buy a home where they would be interested in moving to. And like a couple of friends of mine bought places in Aruba. Some people I know are buying things in Italy, not Africa, because I think Africa is a misnomer. People just don't know, it can be overwhelming. But then they start Mexico City, Panama. So then they start looking at, okay, if I like this place enough to own property to come visit, and then it becomes an investment opportunity. And then the second piece is I'm entering retirement or thinking about retirement, or just need to leave because of my why. Would this be a place that I would want to live in? And so I think that is what I've been hearing. The process that people are taking instead of just jumping out there so soon.
Yeah. One of the things I guess I would ask you is the demographics of your viewers, your listeners. If my wife and I looked at a $300,000 beach property in St. Kitts Nevis on the north end of the island, which is very quiet, and but this place is so on the water that while we were staying at the other place that my mentor owned, literally a huge crab crawled up the what do you call it, the overhang,
The patio.
the patio thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it's on the water like that. Okay. When the ocean, it's
Tide
there.
was coming in. Yeah.
But my point is that sometimes, so we've done about, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 cohorts of some type of workshops. And so the number of attendees might be 5 people, 8 people, 11 people. And some of our demographics, the folks are not able to make a $300,000 purchase like that. And they're saying to us, okay, so help us to arrange the thinking around that. How can we, they're asking the right question instead of how are we going to be able to do it? What would it take to be able to accomplish their goal? And so one of the things we'll recommend is, well, don't do your scouting trip until you have determined your why, found out what your deal breakers are, find out what your dream world looks like, check out the education system, check out the pet system if that's your thing, check out the religious system if you want, and come up with a objective rating system. We call it a country rating
That's
system.
what we made. Yeah.
So I'm a motorcyclist and I would go buy a motorcycle. I'm sorry, I'm going to look at motorcycles, right? And on Monday, I want one with a gas gauge. That's very important to me, right? On Wednesday, I see a motorcycle that has, instead of a chain, it has a shaft driven like a car. Low maintenance. I like that. Okay. And then on Friday, I'm looking at a motorcycle that maybe has hard shell cases, so Marlene can ride with me on the back and whatever, and we can go further away, 4 or 5, 6 hours away, right? But what I'm doing is I keep shifting the goalposts. If before I go to look at motorcycles, I say, you know what, got to be a gas gauge, got to have a shaft driven, must have a windshield, a wind jammer. I want, instead of spokes, I want mag wheels so I don't have to be adjusting the spoke wheels. And then when I go to look at motorcycles, I then rate them according to the standard that I have set. It'll keep me from fluctuating Monday, Wednesday, Friday. In other words, you tend to like the last thing you saw. And so
True.
what happens is, if you look at countries just being a keyboard captain or whatever they call that, and looking on the internet and say, okay, it's like Taiwan offers me this, Costa Rica offers me that, Namibia offers me. You get 15 countries, and then you whittle that down with the rating system I just said to you, and we teach people how to do that. You whittle it down to then maybe 3 or a couple of countries. You're saving money. You've also been a good steward of your money and your time. And because you're only going to make 1 or 2, you're going to combine trips and do a scouting trip. And when you do that, you're not doing a vacation, because a scouting trip is different than a vacation. So my point is to have an as objective as you possibly can versus subjective. And the way to do that is reduce your number of 15 countries down to about 2 or 3. And I just tried to use a motorcycle example as an analogy or
Right,
metaphor
right.
to see.
I think for our listeners, some people have never even thought about this as an option. Like, they don't even know that they never considered, because they don't know where to start. So
Yes, ma'am.
all of this is good because, I personally would want to visit a couple times on vacation and then also start my scouring trip, because I don't want to be anywhere that I wouldn't want to live anywhere that I wouldn't necessarily want to be consistently. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think for some people, they don't even, they think they got to just stay here and take it. But this is the first time that they're hearing that there's another option on the table.
Yeah.
And that was such a blessing, when Tiffany, the producer, and I talked about doing this podcast, because I never even considered, like I said, Africa. And from what you're telling me, this definitely I'm going to put my little rating scale together and look consistently at the things that I know now to look for, which I would never consider before. So this has been incredible. And then for people, I think you have people at different levels. There's some people who are just surviving, and then there are some people, and when I say surviving, they just are trying to not be put out, have their mortgage taken care of. And then there are other people who are a little bit in the middle, which is why we don't do the political thing, because it really doesn't make a difference. We're all struggling, some of us in different ways. And then they're just frustrated. And then there are people who have the resources, but they just don't know how to start the process. So we kind of cover the gamut. And I think $1,500 in the bank account for some people, I'm just thinking about from Zanzibar, is a very viable opportunity for people. And I think people would take it with the right guidance of knowing the process. And then I think for people who are more entrepreneurial like me, it's like, I have to have other things in place, but I also want to be still engaged and challenged from a professional perspective. And so there's opportunity there. So this has been excellent. It has been excellent. So what's next for y'all?
That's
opening
good.
up for business
Yeah,
point
yeah.
of view.
To your point of business opening up for business, we've interviewed some business owners in the past, and we're developing some next episodes to really get into that more. We did just celebrate 2 years with a friend of ours, Ashley Weston, who's a world-renowned chef. She's from Philly, and she launched her restaurant, The Box, in Stonetown, Zanzibar, 2 years ago. So we just celebrated, the community celebrated with her last week, depending on when this episode goes up, 2 years. And she's been getting a lot of not feedback, a lot of buzz from different people. And we're wanting to talk to her again just about what's possible. Everyone might not be launching a restaurant, but that's some things that we want to get into some more to let people know there are people very serious like yourself wanting to invest, start businesses, work locally, work with a team to bring whatever people need. Could be money, could be food, could be education, could be cosmetics, could be entertainment, whatever. To whether it's Zanzibar, Tanzania, or just any other country, we're going to be launching a new series or continuing a series, just showing people this is possible, and hopefully that it'll spark whatever it is that's in you to do that. You know, it's possible to do this thing abroad. We rub elbows with a lot of different entrepreneurs here, and which is really good because it keeps you sharp, keeps you inspired, keeps you ready to execute.
And you have a lot of digital nomads there too, I could imagine.
Yeah, we've talked to people who are into IT, like my brother Daniel. We know a couple of people, one of which we've interviewed. He, I think, does cybersecurity. The one that I'm thinking of, Mr. Rob. Another one started, I think, his own IT firm. If I have that right, he's further north in Zanzibar doing his thing. So yeah, you have a lot of digital nomads doing things like copywriting. Done a copywriting internship, and we know some other people. That's primarily what they do. Copywriting for different firms, be it education, especially edutech. In fact, the person I'm thinking of right now. So yeah, I said a lot there, but there is a lot of opportunity, and so we launched the channel to show people how to get started. And I guess we're halfway through 2025 already. That's
I can't
crazy.
believe it. It is crazy.
With the remaining months, we're going to be full steam ahead on developing and producing more segments about expat entrepreneurship and what's possible. We're going to continue to be educating people in our workshops, also in our masterclass, which you can subscribe to via our YouTube channel. Thank you for sharing that so people can get access to it. We'll give people more of a behind the scenes of the in-depth story that we gave you at the top of the show of what our process was, the tutorials and guides that Dad and the family has come up with, and how to execute those things like the country rating system, etc. But in a way that's not overwhelming you and things. So more expert entrepreneurship and more tutorials and segments of people to show them what's possible in the remaining 2025.
So what would you say as we wrap up were some of the risks and some of the rewards for making your big transition?
Risks involve missing your family, missing our grandchildren. You didn't ask us, but we have been back to the States on 2 occasions. One of them was simply because my mother had transitioned. She was 97. And that was last October. And so there's that family connection. I think that a risk could be if a person isn't flexible and allow themselves to detox from the West. You don't realize, I forgot what they're called, but you have bias. We all have biases, invisible biases. And the deal is they're blind spots. And you don't realize that things are triggers for you and they set you off and you think that's the way it ought to be done. This is the right way to do things. So I think that's a huge risk. I think some of the positive things are, wow, I feel healthier. He told you my wife is 70, I'm 65.
Oh,
I feel
wow.
the friends of mine who came from Maryland and or other expats, we see them and they're like looking leaner,
Mm.
getting sunshine.
Yes. Vitamin
Lunch.
D is real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me just say this: Black people need to be in the sun.
Yeah, that
Now,
part.
Yes.
go and research that, listeners, and go find out. But it's the sun.
It's true.
You can spell it SON if you want. But the
Right.
deal is spending that time there and learning to be more relational and really slowing down. When the guard asked me how Josiah is, he already went through that with you, but learning to apprehend and appropriate that relationship thing, that's a real big positive.
And
Yeah.
creativity as well, because we've had to be more creative. We'll be discussing that on a conference tomorrow. That's right, this weekend. I mentioned Ashley in Africa, who's become a friend. She's an entrepreneur based in South Africa, but splits time between Tanzania, and invited us to speak on her latest summit. We'll be talking about creativity because you have to be flexible again, like Dad said. I thought that I was going to tear up Hollywood. My best friend and I had plans to do that and everything, and he's doing his thing there, and it's awesome. Coming into his director hat, and that's great. And I'm transferring my screenwriter skills and production skills here, and it just looks different. I've had to kind of access a different part of my brain. I've had to also accept like different identity things that are causing me to thrive, like still living with my family, but in a house that's got my name on it, and there's no
Mhm.
mortgage. And then I've got two other properties being constructed with my name and my brother's names on it. And I'm not saying people aren't doing that in the States. That's great. But you asked us, so that's how my life is looking. And I'm like, wow. I have to sit down and count my blessings and remember that when things are tough, sometimes it's tough because I don't take to Swahili that well, and
Mhm.
it'd be nice to hear a little bit more English more often, or to be spending
Mhm.
time risks. Like I miss my best friend and my cousins and my brothers. So that
Mhm.
familiarity can be very tough sometimes. But then there's also, been with my girlfriend almost 3 years now, learning a new language, learning, Maasai culture, getting to know her siblings. Her
Oh,
entrepreneurial spirit is really rubbing off on my family and I. So we're learning from her, as well as
right.
what do her countrymen need and what benefit can we be to of them. Because I'd also like to say we don't ascribe to that whole expats are bad for the environment. Only
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
doing it wrong, and
Right.
the local government will let you know. There are heartbreaking stories. Yes, there are, but those people are being dealt with. There are heartbreaking stories all over
Wow.
the world of, expats not doing right by the community. Don't worry, they'll get
Mhm.
there because they're not from there and they're not trying to immerse and be a part of it. We are slowly but surely, not trying to pat myself on the back, but here in Swahili land, they call it kidogo kidogo, slow, slow. Dad was talking about taking your
Mhm.
time, resting, keeping Sabbath for those who want to do that, taking time to
Mhm.
take time, even if it's just a few hours to get in
Right.
touch with yourself. But I said a lot there. All of that has been certainly a mixture of the risks and rewards of
But that's
living
the reason
abroad. And
why a lot of people, everything you said is the reason why a lot of people want to leave the US, though.
yes. And so I'm becoming a new person. He's becoming a new person, becoming the best version of ourselves. Some days are better than others, but we haven't quit. And it's possible if it's for you. Again, he started the channel with this idea: your dream, whatever it is, in this case, moving abroad, is saying, wake up. And I
Yeah.
really feel like I've woken up 5 years ago. I found it, I wrote in a journal, and then I found it 3 years ago when we were planning to leave. I had written in my journal, visit Africa. 5 years later,
Mm.
I'm living here. And I found it
Mhm.
literally while packing and downsizing to get ready.
Wow.
And
To
I'm like,
move to
oh,
Africa.
I forgot all about I forgot all
Right.
about this. But it's real. And so that's for me been some of the risk and reward. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You have, oh my God, we have a playbook. We will actually put all of your confirmation information in the description so people can actually follow you as well and download
Awesome.
all the information so they know how to move, what to do, and take some of your workshops. Because I think people now don't have the excuse that they don't know where to start and they don't know what to do, because we pretty much nailed that and then some in this interview. So there's no excuse. I'm a person of no excuses. We don't have any excuses now for what we need to do if we want to make some kind of transition, not to heaven, but to heaven. All right. Thank
Nice.
you guys so much. I really appreciate having you on the podcast. I can't wait to get the feedback and to get this one out there, because I think Africa is really rising and a lot of people are interested. And I think this is going to be really good for people.
I want to give a shout out to Tiffany, your producer, and her
She's
wonderful
awesome.
husband, who was my neighbor for centuries.
Grew
Not
up
that
with
long.
him.
And they listening. We were blessed listening to them when we moved to Southern California.
That's right.
And I want this on the recording. Thank you, Tiffany and Jamal. Love you all. Miss you all. So,
Oh,
Shout out to them. And thank you, Miss Ice.
oh yes, thank you.
you are welcome. You are
Yeah.
welcome. Y'all are about to get a
Thank you.
whole lot of calls. Because
On All
we send this information out to our database, so you're about to get a whole lot of calls. So get ready.
Fantastic. We're just happy
Well,
to serve, and it
yeah.
feels good to connect.
Yeah, just
It's
wanted
awesome.
to serve.
It's a blessing.
Oh, thank you guys. See you later.
All
later.
right.
Bye. So what do you think? This episode was amazing, right? Yeah, it was great. They're awesome. I mean, I tell you, Papa Mark and Josiah have tons of information, and they have lived and are living the American dream, but somewhere else. I want you to tell me where you would go. I want you to tell me what would prompt you to leave, and I want you to tell me if you're interested in getting more. Make sure in the description you take the time to read all the information, because they have their own YouTube channel where they talk and give workshops and tutorials on how to help people move and transition to wherever their next place is and things to consider. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. I love you guys and ladies. And I can't wait to see you on the next podcast.